as county auditor, I got lots of phone calls regarding why didn't I get a ballot from the fire commission? Because you don't live in the fire district. Oh, outside of the fire district, you're also going to pay a lot higher fire insurance premiums if you can even get fire insurance for those structures. So there are, as was pointed out a little bit earlier, there are a lot of different fire districts within the county. There's also 2 hospital districts, which Geoff talked about. And what's really interesting is the service area of those 2 hospital districts, which now EMS provider is KBFR Hospital 2, are quite interesting. So we should always take an opportunity to look at the map. And it's, thankfully, I agree that Hospital 2 now has the mutual aid agreement for the Teanaway to be able to provide service up there, because that's really KBFR area, which is crazy. In my opinion, that's the way it was developed when we first started the hospital district. So I've gotten lots of calls from people over the years as county auditor asking about where they live, what fire district. How can I change fire districts? How do I get into a fire district? For some reason or other, it's usually the county auditor himself who got those calls, and a lot of times I guess people thought, well, Jerry can answer your question. So people sometimes live in a certain fire district and they want to change. It's a difficult process. I don't like this district, I don't want to be in that one, I don't want to be in the fire district, I don't want to join the fire district. And people should really pay attention to what they're doing, and when they have those concerns, should always be talking to the fire chiefs and those boards to help them develop a way so that they can feel better and be more comfortable with their concerns within their different districts. Consolidations have been occurring. There are consolidations that probably won't occur. We all need to be aware that throughout our county, all of our districts do have certain levels of mutual aid agreements in order to be able to provide those services when they end up with large incidents and need help. There are times KBFR's coming out of the county, there's times we've had the county coming out of us, especially with wildfires. Those things get crazy and we need so many resources, and everybody works pretty well together to provide those resources with each other because of those major concerns. And that is one thing that I think is a positive about our county, is everybody works well together and we end up with these major incidents. And that means that joint response is something that in most ways is mutual aid. We need to call for the mutual aid for like response. But the important part is that we do have those joint response aid and mutual aid agreements in place in order to help each other, because that's really what that means. We've got to help each other out, because it's about the public and it's about our taxpayers, and we're supposed to be serving them, correct? That's what we need to do. I want to go back to everybody up here remember Jolly Mountain and Taylor Bridge fire? Everyone in this county should, because those were major issues. They showed us, through our after-action reviews, some ways that we could improve and some things that we could help each other with as well as the public. I remember riding shotgun with incident command on Taylor Bridge, and wow, that was something that I had never experienced before, but was an incredibly learning experience, as well as an incredible way to learn about how we had cooperation throughout the county. Taylor Bridge was that big issue that we dealt with. There's only one way in and one way out. How do we manage that? So those are things we need to look at. There are people also who live in the county who, even though they may be in fire district because of where they're built, if we end up with a major fire, we're not going to protect that structure because we're not going to put ourselves in harm's way. So we need to think about what we're dealing with those issues, and especially in the wintertime when we have incidents like we've had a couple up here in our county where the incident occurred and they couldn't get to it to put the fire out, and people had to walk out and then they had to walk in and try to help with the rescue. I think that was the top on the list that Geoff had on his list. That was a struggle. I listened to that on the scanner and I struggled with just listening to it myself. Everyone who lives in the county should be looking at their firewise issues. Do we all do that? What are the things up against our homes and up against our buildings in or outside of our county that we really need to look at to try to help figure out how to maintain and do that better? During Taylor Bridge, pictures and the things that I saw, those houses that had things cleared away from them didn't burn. The ones that did, most of them burned. So that's something we all really need to look at, is how do we manage our own property to help ourselves, help our fire departments and our emergency operations to come help us out. Last thing I want to talk about is volunteers. Most of our fire departments, and to some extent EMS, are staffed by volunteers. Statewide and nationwide, we have problems recruiting and as well as retaining volunteers for all of our organizations. If anyone here is interested in volunteering who is not and would be interested in it, please contact your department. Because what's going to happen is, in my opinion, we're going to eventually lose enough volunteers to where it's going to be a real struggle to respond to the incidences that we have to protect you and your property.
Well, let me add my thanks to everybody for being here and sharing some time with us. My name is John Sinclair, and as was previously stated, I'm the fire chief for Kittitas County Fire and Rescue. What some of you may not know is that for the last 4 years, I've also been the fire chief for Fire District 7 under contract. Fire District 7 contracts with KVFR for me to be their fire chief, which is the reason why I'm here, is to sort of explain some pieces that we've been working on for quite some time that will affect people in the Upper County. Before I do that, there are some folks here that are important that I think need to be introduced. So I apologize in advance if I embarrass anybody. But Cheryl Burrows, would you please stand up and wave? Cheryl Burrows is our county EMS administrator. She is the glue that keeps the EMS system together. So without Cheryl, we'd be in big trouble. I also want to introduce Brandon Schmidt, who's the fire chief of Fire District 1. Corey Regan, the fire chief of Roslyn, and also Troy Jackson, the fire chief for District 6. And I thank all of them for being here. One of the things that you saw up there on the slide is the fact that we've got a significant number of different fire departments up here in the Upper County. So to put that into perspective, I came back, I grew up here in the Kittitas County. I went away to seek fame and fortune and then came back here 18 years ago to be the fire chief for Fire District 2. At that time, there were 13 different fire jurisdictions in Kittitas County. We now have 10, so we are making some improvements. Fire District 8, which was Lake Cheese, has consolidated into Snoqualmie Pass Fire and Rescue. The City of Ellensburg annexed into Fire District 2, and we formed KVFR in 2007. And then in 2017, the City of Kittitas annexed into KVFR and joined in with us. During that time, what we've been able to do since the formation of KVFR is we have continued to be able to increase the service levels to our community, and we've been able to reinvest back into the community. I now am able to put more firefighters on scene during a fire, and I'm also able to have a bench strength, if you will, that adds for the concomitant calls. So let's talk for a moment about growth. If you have been looking at what is going on just here in the Upper County and And Jeff Slide said it very well. Suncadia is currently at 32% build out. If you look at everything that is going to go in up here on this ridge, Cle Elum Ridge, there's dozens to hundreds of homes going in up here, which, by the way, is in the wildland-urban interface. We've got, if you know where the Burke Barn is on Highway 97, from there down to Lauderdale Junction, there's a number of homes going in there on that hillside. There's already 14 homes that Horton built there in the valley, there at Lauderdale Junction. There are homes going in out in the Peel Point area. So, and then you've got these planned communities that are nicely articulated on these maps. Those are within the city of Cle Elum. And while I don't have a dog in that fight, obviously, if this goes in, it impacts everybody in the Upper County because it's going to add to the stress of the road system, it's going to add to the stress of pretty much everything. So, I worked in Pierce County during the expansion period of the 1980s and the 90s. And I worked in a number of fire departments that were experiencing 15 to 20% growth every year. And it is one of those things that as you're building and you're infilling your fire district with all that growth, because in what I call Puget Tropics, so Snohomish County, King County, Pierce County, Kitsap County, in some ways even Thurston County, what we're seeing is we're seeing people that have moved from Thurston County. Maybe they live in Thurston County because that's what they can afford, and they work in eastern King County. And we're seeing people that are moving from these other areas, moving over here, and finding that even though they have to go over a mountain pass, it shortens their commute. Because the road system in Pugetropolis gets very, very congested. So I have people that say, I have people I went to high school with that say, we need to stop all this growth. And wow, John Sinclair, the kid that grew up here, would love to see that because the community that I grew up in is not the community that exists today. However, I don't know how to make that happen. As I tell people, it's kind of like going down to the beach and in an incoming tide, try to hold the tide out. I don't know what we can do that. But we can begin to plan for it. And we have to plan for that growth. So this is the League of Women Voters, and we talk about democracy. So democracy goes all the way down to the smallest sub-jurisdiction of government. So if you're in a fire district, you get to vote on the level of service that you want in your fire district. If you're in a city or a town or a hospital district, you get to vote and you get to approve the level of service that you want inside of your community. That is the foundation of a democracy.